Sweetest Temptation, Part 1. So, my girl told me to come over to their house, and I have never been to their house ever since we started dating. She told me that her mother is a single mother, that she is very strict with her and wouldn't want what happened to her to repeat itself. She told me that her mother traveled to see her mother, that she is with one of her friends, and she wants me to come over to keep them company since her mother is not around. So, I dressed up looking so fly and I added my body spray and my perfume and I was smelling nice and clean, so I headed to their house following the address she gave me. I knocked on their door and someone opened the door, a pretty face and in thick figure 8, and I told her that I'm looking for Chantel and she told me that I'm in the right place. She called me by my name and told me that Chantel told her that I was coming, and she let me in. She led the way while I followed behind her. Her backside was massive, like ×2 of Chantel's backside. I was wowed in my mind because, as she was walking, everything behind her was vibrating like earthquake, and she offered me a seat and I settled down, and she sat right in front of me and her thighs were creamy and farsh like fresh bread from the oven. She was putting on a green RTG1 and her weapons of mass destruction was flashing in my eyes, like the paparazzi's camera, and she told me that her friend has gone to the market to get some food items, and she asked me what I cared to take, and I told her soft drink and she went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of juice. As she bent over to offer me the juice, I could say half of her 2 over-ripped popos and it was almost popping out of her chest. It was so enticing that I wanted to grab it and suck the fresh juice off the tantalizing popos in front of me, but instead, she offered me the orange juice in the glass cup and I collected it and thanked her, and she went back to her seat. She started misbehaving like a small witch. At every passing seconds, she would open her legs and I could see her snail looking slimy and enticing. She wasn't putting on anything inside and I could sense that she was prepared for me. Maybe she wanted to collect one round and clean mouth before Chantel, her friend, comes back, and I was ready for her if that's what she wants from me, and I'm prepared to give it to her hot. She has already got my rod hard and ready to strike. Don't act as if you have not been reading the signs, she said to me smiling. What did you want? I asked. Some strokes of cane from you and I will be good, she replied, and she stood up from her seat and walked up to me and knelt in between my legs as she reached for my RD, which was already hard as Zuma rock. Stop already, we can't betray Chantel, I said to her. She wouldn't know, except you tell her yourself. Don't you like what you see? She asked, and I was carried away by her beautiful looks. She said as she adjusted my belt and slid down both my jeans trousers and my boxers, and my monstrous Monday hammer charged in the air. What is this? She screamed as she jumped up on her feet and took a few steps backwards as she watched my giant Monday hammer in awe. She murmured something that I didn't get so well and I asked her what she said and she told me that it's nothing, but I think I heard her say, "Thank you, Chantel, for this one." Next thing, she rushed me and started leaking the pink cap of my Monday hammer and I was feeling like a little kid that is LCAC and Cold Stone vanilla flavored ice cream. The feelings was so wow, and I subtracted her gown and the 2 over-ripped papa on her chest bounced in the air, and I could hear the 2 papas calling me by my name and telling me to come and have some papa juice, and I said in my mind, I have been dying to have this, and I rushed the papas. My first attack was with formation. I started with the small nuts at the tip heads of the over-ripped papas and I sucked the juice from the small nuts at head of those papas, and she kept on saying, don't stop, don't stop. And before I could know what was going on, she sat on my Monday hammer, and it went through her slippery snail and hit her so deep down in her womb, and she moaned with satisfaction, and the fighting begun immediately. And we had to do it very fast because we don't know when Chantel will be coming back from the market, and I have to show her that I've got some SKLs. I have to make her understand that man passes man. And I bent her over, like she was picking a pin on the floor, and I began to pump her tire with ferocity and without mercy. I have got to teach her the lesson of her life for looking for my trouble. How on earth can she trouble me and expect not to run? For I know that my knacking machine, and my God's given strength will never disappoint me. So, I keep on increasing my fire at every interval until she started singing Sweet's song in a very high pitch, and I know that she did not care if the neighbors could hear her sing because she was high in the spirit of worldly pleasures, and I don't care either, because I am in the middle of the war, and if I lose guard, I might collect a bullet in the process. So I proceeded, and I could hear her singing the sweet melody on top of her voices, and she was practically losing her sanity because of how she was misbehaving at the peak of the pleasure that I was giving to her. And I turned her to the other side and kept on firing until she pushed me away and ran to the kitchen, and I followed her and held her on her waist, and she grabbed the kitchen cabinet with her both hands, and I told her that she will suck my cucumber till I come, and she said yes, and I unplugged my pipe from her snail, and she thanked me, but she didn't keep to our bargain. She just rushed out of the kitchen to her room and jammed the door against me. To be continued.